Hey everyone, and welcome to RPG Horror Stories with D&D Doge. In today's video, we have a tale about some in-character flirting that makes the Dungeon Master's girlfriend jealous, a story about one of the greediest players I've ever read about, and more. So, without further preamble, let's get right into these stories. I'll just show myself out. By Reddit user, Avon Crest. I used to play in a game a friend from work ran. We got along well, and we hung out often and drank together. I even went along with him and his group of guy friends to his first ever strip club. I'm a woman, and a bit older than he is. The point is, we were pretty dang secure in our completely platonic friendship. Anywho, a couple months into our game, this friend gets a girlfriend. She seemed cool, and they complimented each other. She was into a lot of nerdy stuff that the rest of the group was, and she and I had a few solid laughs together. She didn't play with us much though. The party was already at max capacity, and since this was the first game he DM'd, he was already a bit overwhelmed. Well, we're playing Curse of Strahd, and my character, Arika, gets kidnapped and taken to sit at his table for dinner. Strahd and my character banter, and the room feels overly quiet. My character, a tiefling rogue with a charlatan background, does what she does and starts trying to charm her way out of it. And the room is definitely very quiet. Things between Arika and Strahd get a bit flirty, and I swear I feel someone looking at me. There's that bit of giggly awkwardness that often comes around when you're flirting with someone that you know well, but for the game, and not actually because you're attracted to them. The DM looks down to make a roll, and I look up into the kitchen and see DM's girlfriend staring at me like I just shat in the middle of her living room floor, as she was hosting. Like, holy crap, if looks could kill. Full sneer and teeth bared, with wide, crazy eyes. I played it cool, and played down Arika's flirtiness a bit from then on. But man, every session after that, I could tell she was keeping a closer eye on things. She'd be around whenever I drank with the boys from then on, which didn't overall change how those nights played out. Games, chatting, and at least one of us with our head in the toilet. I stopped hanging out after a few more months, when her one-off character, quote-unquote in-game, very loudly called Arika a whoring cunt, while staring at me straight in the eye. So, yeah, bye. Yeah, it sounds like the DM's girlfriend wasn't really trying to hide her disdain much, and it only shows how insecure she probably was. I mean, it's an RPG, and the DM has to essentially play all characters that aren't run by the players, and it was Strahd. It's likely that OP was playing the only female character, and with the way Strahd is written, that totally makes sense. For the DM's girlfriend to get that hard on the paint with her aggression towards OP because of this, it makes me feel bad for the DM more than anything, because he's going to have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis. But I don't blame OP for just noping out of there and getting out of the way of that drama bulldozer. Let's move on. Druid is asked to give up one of his magic items and throws a temper tantrum. By Reddit user, Sloanage. This is pretty mild compared to most of the stuff here, but super frustrating nonetheless. The campaign, characters, and classes don't really matter that much here. Basically, me and my adventuring party of 5 were fleeing a crumbling temple before we had gotten a chance to properly loot the place. Some monsters were chasing us, so we were in initiative order. On our way towards the exit, we happened to pass through a large room filled with loot. All of us wanted to grab some stuff, but the first 3 members of the party decided to use their turns running through the room and spending an action on something else. Come to my turn, and I have my paladin use his movement to run to the other end of the loot chamber, and I then decide to spend my action casting Detect Magic. 3 things in the room register as magical, and since I don't have movement or an action left, I call out to our 5th party member, the Druid, and point to where the things are and tell him to grab them on his way. On his turn, he does just that, Boom, success. We're all excited. Up to this point in the game, we haven't really received any magic items at all. Or so we thought. More on that later. So this was a big deal for us. Well, we get to wherever we decide to set up camp, and the druid asks if he can start attuning to the 3 items to learn what they do. Our DM, bless him, is clearly trying to encourage him to spread the items out amongst our group, so he tells him that no, he can only attune to 1 per rest. Then he asks the druid if he would like to give 2 to other people, so we can learn what they all do. The druid goes, "Nope, I want to keep them all for myself and find out what they do first." The rest of us, including the DM, are silent. All of our characters are right there, watching him start to attune to this magic sword, and my character especially knows that there are at least 2 other objects. So, in character, I ask him if I can see one of the other items to find out what it does. But again, he goes, "Nope." Now, usually, I try not to do anything even remotely PvP, but no one was saying anything, and I was super annoyed that we wouldn't even have these items if I hadn't wasted my turn casting Detect Magic and trying to work as a team. And now, he's really turning around and trying to keep them all for himself? So I asked the DM if I can make some kind of contested check to try and grab the sword out of the druid's hands. As soon as I say this, the druid has a total meltdown. He's literally almost 30, 6-ish years older than the rest of us, and he started throwing a full-on temper tantrum, and he starts shouting over the DM at me. "Shut up, OP, shut up. They're mine, you can't do that." And this went on for like a minute. Finally, the DM gets a word in, agrees with me, and says that I can make the check. He's clearly on my side, but as fate would have it, I failed the roll. So the druid kept all 3 items, learned what they did, and never shared them with the group. He eventually forgot about them, and literally never used them a single time. I don't even know what the other 2 items were at this point, but I at least knew that he got a dope sword. He doesn't even use swords, and he never gave it to anyone else. After the game, the DM and I talked, and he was feeling the exact same way as me. We just never had this kind of situation before, and he didn't know what to do, which is fair. But here's the kicker. Remember when I said that we hadn't received any magic items in the game up to that point? Well, the DM reminded me that that was not true. We had 3 other magic items, but the druid just took all of them and forgot about every single one. One was a Lantern of Revealing, one was some kind of shape-shifting necklace, and one was a Ring of the Ram that the druid was allowed to start the game with. So yeah, for a while we had 5 players and 6 magic items, with every single one being in the hands of this one player, and the only one he ever used was the Ring of the Ram. It's been several months since this, and the DM has definitely balanced things out. But every so often, if we encounter something that looks even remotely valuable, the druid jumps at it before the DM even finishes speaking. Thankfully, at this point, the entire party is prepared enough to shut him down altogether and tell him that he needs to share. A quick edit. Just saying that some of y'all need to be a little more understanding of first-time DMs. I'm sorry that not everyone was born with perfect de-escalation skills, but my DM grew from this situation and got better at handling conflict as a person because of it. If you came here just to say, "Your DM sucks," just stop. He doesn't. He is amazing. And as a D&D subreddit, y'all should be a little more willing to accept that first-timers make mistakes sometimes, instead of just jumping down his throat. Y'all don't know anything about my DM or my game other than this post, so please be nice. Yeah, that is extremely greedy on the druid's part. Like, why the hell would he want all of those items when he would never use them in the first place? And besides that, you can only attune to 3 items at once, so either way, half of those items could have gone to other players, but were just being wasted instead of helping the party. Perhaps this player was going into it with a video game mindset, and was essentially being a loot whore. But even in a video game, loot whores aren't fun to play with either. Now, were there ways that the DM could have gone about circumventing this situation? Sure. But as OP stated, he was new, and not that great with conflict in general. But at least it sounds like the DM was able to learn from this experience, and at the end of the day, that is what matters. Hopefully, OP and the rest of the group are having a better time now, and Druid learned how to share, like most people did in preschool. Let's move on, but before we do, Nipsey would like to make a request of you fine viewers.
Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Thanks, buddy. I'm sure they can't resist that face. But with that said, let's get into today's final story. That time the DM made my character a mass murderer off-screen. By Reddit user Beta575. Here's a relatively tame horror story from a couple of years ago in D&D 5e. Usual stuff. Names are changed for anonymity's sake. Please keep the comments civil and all that jazz. I want to preface by saying that all the folks in this group are good people. Dungeons & Dragons just tends to make them do stupid things. My partner and their friends play D&D together. It's a big plane-hopping, high magic style game. The Dungeon Master is known for being woefully unprepared for sessions, to the point that the DM's improv is less a follow the player's lead as they go off the rails style, and more of a it's probably interesting if I throw you into the plane of fire halfway through the session style. My partner was new to D&D and RPGs in general, and role-playing was definitely hard for them. So I reached out to the DM and asked if I could join for a session or two, as a weirdo character meant to be more of an NPC than a party member, as I thought I could be a good roleplay buddy for my partner, and the DM said sure. I drew up a wild magic sorcerer tiefling who hopped around the planes on accident pretty often. I added in a few fun quirks, like that he was a con artist and that his skin changed to a different primary color whenever he surged, and sent the sheet off to the DM. They said it looked good, and they told me where and when the game would be. Fast forward to the session, and we had a blast. My weirdo quickly became the party's strange guide through the plane that they were in, though he often got them into trouble. I got to roleplay a fun relationship with my partner, and even became a friend of the party's resident cleric. At the end of the evening, a wild magic surge carried my sorcerer away to another plane, hopefully to reappear someday. About a year later, their campaign was still going, though everything was more post-apocalyptic now. Wanting to see the state of the world, I asked the DM if my sorcerer could pop back up again, and the DM said sure. Cut to the game. I'm getting ready to reintroduce my character, the plan being that he'd slip out from an alley and surprise the party. Unfortunately, my plans were cut short when the DM announced that the party saw my character being thrown out of one of the seediest brothels in town, with the owner screaming at him about unpaid bills. Okay, well, that's not what I had in mind, but he is a con artist trickster, so I guess it still works. I say hi again to the party, and they take me back to their castle. When we arrive, an NPC that I have never met, but who is apparently very important to the plot, sees me and falls silent. The DM then has him explain that I, apparently, wild surged into the middle of this guy's village years ago and killed his sister. My character informs him that he has no memory of that, but the NPC tells me that it was not long ago, and that I killed dozens of people and burned down the town. He also explains that I ran from it all and I must be punished. So he places a cursed object on me, with no save, and now I am forever bound to their castle. I cannot leave. The party does a collective eyebrow raise, and I'm sitting there perplexed at what just occurred. I'm effectively being told that I can't play the rest of the evening since they're about to leave the castle and go on a quest. And once again, I cannot leave with them. The party tried for the next 5 minutes or so to find a way to get me out of the castle, but to no avail. All of their solutions were met with a no from the DM. Eventually, they convinced the DM to make it so that I could leave for a time if the NPC said I could, so that I could at least keep playing with them. We go do a big fight, and we win. Hooray. I ask the DM if I can have my sorcerer accidentally wild surge away to another plane now, but he says no because I'm still bound. We wound up stopping there for the night, and I haven't played D&D with them since. I have no idea what became of my sorcerer, but I still have his sheet though, so there's that. Yeah, that is a bit of an out of left field thing for the DM to do. Well, yeah, OP only played with the group twice. It still is OP's character, who sounded to be a scoundrel type character at worst, and not one that would do something like that. And for the DM to intend for the character to be bound to a castle, while that character's player is there, specifically to play with the group as a guest, it makes me wonder if the DM had something against OP. Though, at least the group convinced the DM to allow that caveat so that OP could actually, play the game. Maybe the DM was trying to set up some sort of doppelganger storyline and just kinda botched the execution of it. But in the end, at least it wasn't a game that OP was a permanent player of. Though the part at the end got me confused a little bit. If OP doesn't know what happened to their guest character, why wouldn't they just ask their partner what has become of them? But anyway, that is all I have for you today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and may your games remain horror story free. Until next time.